giving some NFL and college football predictions. Let's get right into it. With Alabama going to Missouri. Going to Missouri. They are a 3.5. Alabama's 3 has to win by 4 points. Because there's not half points in college football and there's not half points in the NFL. So, at or 14. Let's see. They're 4-1. Missouri's 5-0. I think the upset would technically be Missouri because of the situation. They're undefeated. Rushing Missouri. Receiving Alabama. This might be the first time that we see an Alabama team actually, not the first, in terms of the SEC. Sorry, I just scored a touchdown while thinking about that. I deal with a better rushing team. I guess my question for this is going to be, will the Alabama of old show up, or old Alabama show up? And by old, let's remember the Florida State game, and then, yeah, that's really the only game. Looks like we against Georgia. Some reason in me, I want to go with Alabama, but I think I'm thinking of the old Alabama under Nick Saban. Defense, strong defense, with good running play, good quarterback, okay quarterback play. There's more emphasis on run, and then traditional run the ball and play defense. With this Alabama team, I think it's going to be more of get it to Ryan Williams on the outside, run the ball if you can, and then the defense can play in good situations. I am going to go with Missouri. I'll go with Missouri. I'm going to go with Missouri. Missouri straight up. And again, if you can't afford to play betting games, then if you can't afford to lose betting games, then you don't do it. So I'm picking against Alabama. I'm picking Missouri to win the game and win the spread, which means that they just win the game or stay within 2, you win. The next one I'm going to talk about, it's a very rivalry game because the ACC. It's in Florida with Florida State and Pittsburgh. This, I believe, is a good depth, as in they'll make the playoff team. They're both 3-2. FSU's looks like they're expecting FSU to dominate because it's 10.5 to win. I'm going to go with Florida State. I'm going to go with Florida State. It's all favoring FSU with the rushing and receiving and passing. I think I'm going to go with Florida State at home. Spread is just the one part I'm not so sure of. I want to go with, I'm going to get Pitt. I want to go with Florida State because that whole evening out, both go 1-2 in the ACC. Then if Florida State wins this game, but something's still even out. So I think Pittsburgh, I think is gonna win. Pittsburgh, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. Cancel that. Going with Pittsburgh in the Pittsburgh, Florida State at 12 p.m. on ESPN. I'm picking them with it. Picking them. They don't need to win any by any. They just need to win, which I think is very key for both. If you're trying to pick games and trying to predict who's actually going to win the football game without the spread, because the spread tells you, as anyone would see, that means they're expecting Florida State to be a lot better than Pittsburgh, and I think both have the exact same overall record. Pittsburgh technically has a better ACC record, so I'm just going to go with that. Or not relying on that. I just think it's easier to go against the spread with such a high margin. Like 11 points, that's a lot. And Florida State's not really shown this year in terms of, or consistency of being dominant. Because remember last year, it was the expectations. Their expectations didn't work out. So, just doing the signs, almost expectations. But let's go with this. Picking Pittsburgh straight up. That's the easiest way to put it. Pittsburgh straight up, and versus Florida State. Then, let's see. Another interesting game at CBS 3:30 at the Ducks. It's number 3 Oregon hosting number 7 Indiana, both in the Big Ten, both 5-0. This would be an interesting. This I think, if Indiana finds a way to win this game, like wins at all, I think that's a really big upset. I think with the way that Oregon both play Penn State, both are undefeated, but I think Oregon had a much harder to get the final because they could have lost to Penn State, but didn't. So. But Oregon is expected to win by 7.5. I think. I actually want to go with Indiana here in terms of hoping, because I always like to root for the underdog. Whenever I get a good excuse to, so I think I'm going to pick Indiana, and it's a lot easier to pick that because and Oregon has to win by 8. And that's a lot. I mean, think about the Penn State game. They went overtime, and they only won because they got an interception there. And they won by 3. And so I just look, because you got to get them close. It just depends upon, we're going to see how good the coach of Indiana is. Scheming wise, now we've seen him well, but this is a national championship team in Oregon, so we're gonna see if he can scheme well and see how those players are comparative wise. As in, do they have comparable talent, and can they? This would be a bigger moment for Indiana if they pull off the upset than if Oregon wins, because they just get another win. It's another Big Ten opponent, but. Like, really, Indiana can do. Indiana would favor better from this win than Oregon would. Now, right at the same time is another both historical, impactful, and one of the few examples of rivalries left in the Red River rivalry between number 6 Oklahoma and unranked Texas. It's not showing the ranking there. It's at Dallas, Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Or the Cotton Bowl. The Red River rivalry versus in the Cotton Bowl. I was even observing it. And they have Oklahoma winning by 2. Wow. And I know it doesn't sound like for my voice, but this is actually big. Because remember, Arch Manning is at Texas. So they're saying, I think everyone's starting to cool off on that Arch Manning hype. And I can't blame them. But I think for this game impactful. NFL players who played for these programs said it's an important game, and I think because of the known rivalry, everyone gets a little bit more eyes focused for rivalry games, especially high notice ones such as this one. Shane Matier. Sessions 1002 Puccini. Leyland This game could either turn out to be a low-scoring slugfest or a high-scoring example of offense. It just depends upon how both quarterbacks play, and Matier and Arch Manning, and also how the rest of the offenses play. I'm going to go with Texas. I'd rather try to go with a team that can offensively, and again, in high-scoring games where you need to score, but with a spread of 2, it could just be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game, but it's only the difference of 1. And that you're screwed over. So I'm going to go with Texas. Texas in the Red River rivalry. Okay. And then the game of the night. The one that they have picked to look after is Michigan and USC. Another Big Ten matchup. Both 4-1. And let me see. It's at USC. Obviously, I think this is going to be one of the big games of USC in recent memory. Obviously, Michigan not, because they have that national championship and playoffs. And that's why I'm saying not. I got most of it. Okay. Am I still going? Sorry, this got full for the background, so hopefully there won't be a big play. But going back to it, and speaking of a game, and here's a thing I just realized. This is actually a tale of two careers at this point. Sherrone Moore versus Lincoln Riley. Sherrone Moore's on the rise. First off, he has a quarterback, Bryce Underwood, who's turned out to be great. I remember the one game, though, it was one of the first, I think he's been good for a freshman this season. If I'm comparing him to other quarterbacks, like seniors and everything, I think his first year in college he's doing great. Let's just keep it at that. Keep it simple. I think he's doing a great job. I mean, they're 4-1, which is better. So good for them. Which means in a couple of weeks, Michigan Ohio State will be that. I think that's come back even more intense. And it'll be interesting. But let's stay on this game. Sherrone Moore versus Lincoln Riley. Sherrone Moore's on the rise. Part of the national championship. Was a part of a cheating team, but look, they still have it. Like, I'm just telling you the facts. They still have the national championship. They've been to a national championship. They won playoff games. Been in the playoffs. Lincoln Riley, on the down score, had Caleb Williams, had Baker Mayfield, had Caleb Williams specifically at USC. No doubt stuck there, but during the last year of Caleb Williams, they were trending down, and just broke. When will he get to the playoffs? And how long does he have to at USC? Could he be fired this year? Could he be going to the NFL? I think we want to see this game will be one stepping towards either Lincoln Riley leaving, Lincoln Riley getting to the playoffs, and maybe leaving then. But we have to. This game could be a first little inkling of Lincoln Riley's next step of his career, either taking the next step at USC or taking the next step out of the door. Who do I think will win the USC-Michigan game? I think this game will be medium scoring, as in, because the quarterback for USC is doing pretty good. Bryce Underwood for Michigan is doing good, but I don't think they're going to... I mean, it's his, sixth game of the season? This will be the sixth college game of the year ever. Amazing. But I think they will try to focus on the ground game. I think both will, but I think Michigan more so. So, who will win this? I'm going to go with USC. Because I believe, let's see what time. Actually, sunny, 76 degrees at 7:30. I think because of the fact that it's going to be, Michigan players might not be used to being in California. Because again, the body changes, reaction, stuff like that. The time and place in a day. The time difference. I think because of all of that, it gives USC the edge in this game at home. So I'm picking USC with the spread of 2.5, so I'm going to say they win by 3 or more. And it could be right at the end where they kick a field goal. I guess my dogs don't like that pick, or they like the underdog. But that's where I'm going with this. I'm going with USC to win by 3 over Michigan at the Coliseum. And that's been the college football. And now I'm just going to finish up here. Let me finish up with this game.